You guys, we just got back from Disneyland. It was seriously so much fun. We had a blast. Anyways, welcome to My Life Under Renovation. I'm Shanna. If you're new here, I'm so glad you're here. If you're coming back and visiting from another time, then I'm so glad you're back. Definitely happy to have you all here. So today's video, this clearly, if you followed my channel at all for any amount of time, you know that this is not what my content usually is at all, not even remotely close. But I feel like, you know, my channel kind of centers around like our household and family life. And I just feel like a big part of family life is carving out fun and just creating those opportunities for fun memories and moments with your family. So that's exactly what we did. We went to Disneyland. It was a humongous surprise to our kids, and it was just a blast. So I feel like I need to at least bring up the title that I chose. So I hope no one's offended, first of all, by Disneyland for Dummies. But honestly, that's what we felt like when we started planning this trip. My husband and I, we don't travel. We're not a family of travelers. Our parents weren't travelers. You know, we all used to do road trips and camping, and that's for the most part we've just done like local, you know, within a regular kind of distance road trips is what we've done with our kids. And so the last time my husband and I flew, which was the first time either of us had ever flown ever, was 16 years ago for our honeymoon. So then now fast forward to, you know, our trip we just took, we were like, yeah, let's take 3 kids and let's fly into LAX and probably get lost and lose all of our stuff. I don't know. We were nervous about that part, but everything went perfectly smooth. No weird hiccups or catastrophic anythings. And so that was the good news. We were happy and grateful for that. But I just feel like just planning a trip like this, when you're not someone that travels and does things like this, is a huge challenge, and it's a little bit overwhelming at times. So I figured, why not throw a video like this out there and share just what worked for us, what was helpful, what was budget friendly, things we were super happy we did, things that we maybe would have done differently. I thought it'd be helpful. So hopefully it helps someone else out, whether you're planning a trip to Disneyland or a trip to wherever. So most of this video is just going to be lots of the amazing footage that I got. I took so much footage from this trip because I'd never done anything like this before. So it was exciting for me, and I'm not even a humongous Disney fan, but I am now. I have a new appreciation for it. So we had a blast. I got lots of footage. I'm going to share it here, and I will just be doing voiceovers for most of the rest of the video, just kind of sharing, and I will put little text highlights across the screen when I'm talking about a topic that I feel like I should address. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoy. Thanks again for being here. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video if you enjoy it, and I've got tons of fun content coming your way here as we move into the fall and out of summertime. So let's just get started. Those palm trees, we could not get enough of those. My kids especially thought that seeing palm trees in person was just like the best thing ever. So we live in an area where that's definitely not something that grows. It's not native to the area where we live. So it was extra special to see those in person. My husband and I had seen them before because we traveled to Hawaii for our honeymoon. But anyways, I'm just going to jump right in here and just start talking. So I feel like a starting point for any trip, honestly, is just trying to figure out, first off, where you'd like to go. But in this case, we're pretty much going to be talking about Disneyland. So we started the planning process for our trip, I'd say like 6 to 9 months before we actually went. So we kind of chatted about it here and there. We've talked about it for years, but not seriously. But we started seriously talking about it about 6 to 9 months before we actually went. So I feel like a really big component of that is just saving for your trip. So I know that's not for everyone, and I'm not the spending police here. So, but I do love Dave Ramsey and a lot of the things that he shares and encourages. And so anytime you can pay for a trip with money you have on hand versus charging it, of course, I think that's probably everyone would agree that's the best option to do. But I know that's not for everyone. Some people are totally comfortable and fine charging things, but we do choose to live a debt-free life outside of our home and our cars. We don't do credit cards and things like that. So that was part of the process, was just making sure we felt comfortable spending the large amount that it would cost to go on this trip. So wherever you're at with that process, have the money or have a plan for how you're going to pay for it or charge it or whatever you'd like to do. So from there, we kind of just started researching, honestly, just Googling things, looking things up. And I give my husband all the credit when it comes to this particular area. So we make a pretty good team, in my opinion, but he loves to like research. He likes to figure out plans. So like if we're going to fly at this time, we would need to pick up a rental car at this time. And then from there, we'll drive to here. And then from there, we'll go to here. And that is not my forte at all. I don't like trying to make sure plans and things like that work out together. It boggles my brain and makes me crazy. And so for me, I'm like the details person. I like to plan what everyone's going to need. I'm the one that packs everything when we go on trips. I like to come up with all the fine details, like the things that are going to make the trip comfortable and special and fun for everybody. And so that's kind of my my domain. He's the planner and the researcher. So anyways, he started researching, and we definitely encourage you to check out Undercover Tourist. There were a ton of great ideas and tons of great info on that particular website. So check there. But we planned our trip for hotel, airfare, and then car rental through Expedia. After doing some research, that we felt like that was the best one to go through. But you could also use a travel agent or just plan things out yourself, like each of those things individually. This is just what worked well for us. And so for car rental, we used Alamo. So on that one, it was not the cheapest option, but it had the best ratings. And so, and it was like the smoothest rental process ever. So we flew to LAX, and then from there were like shuttle buses running like nonstop, and it took us straight to the rental car location. And then the rental car checkout was just so smooth and so seamless. It was awesome. So we picked up our rental car and then off we went. So we stayed at, you probably already saw the footage of it there, but we stayed at the Desert Palms. I think it's called Hotel and Suites, but it was wonderful. So if you're planning a trip to Disneyland, I highly recommend that hotel. I'm sure there are a ton of great ones, but that one was within walking vicinity to Disneyland, so we could actually see the backside of Disneyland from our hotel, which was pretty awesome. So it was I'd say right about half a mile to walk there, and so that can save you some money, because then you're not paying for, it's $25 a day to park in like the Disneyland parking lots. So for a little bit of walking when you're already going to be doing a ton, I say you might as well save right then and there. And our hotel actually did charge us for parking, but we weren't paying for parking at the hotel and for parking at Disneyland. So one way to save right there, since we're all about budgeting and trying to save when and where we can. And then the next thing I was going to just share about is how we did like the Disneyland passes and things. So we went to Disneyland and to California Adventure. And if you've never been before, you kind of come in the main gates, you go in, and then from there you can go to the right, you can go to Disneyland, to the left you can go to California Adventure. And it's a different like checking in process for each area. So we went with something called the Park Hopper, and so it charges you a little bit more to be able to, you can bounce back and forth basically like all day, every day that you're there. You can like freely go back and forth. So you do have to you got to check in each time when you're coming and going, but instead of like being like, okay, we're going to pay for Disneyland on Monday, and then on Tuesday we'll go to California Adventure, you can just bounce back and forth all day long, which we did. We used that a ton. I feel like it was totally worth the money. You know, when we were originally planning this, I was like, do we really need to do that? Or could we just, you know, do like I said, we'll spend Monday here and then Tuesday there. And ultimately we decided it'd be kind of nice to be able to go back and forth. And yeah, I'm very grateful we did. It was definitely useful, and I felt like it worked out perfectly. So I definitely recommend that one. And my husband, Chase, he agrees. He thought that was perfect. So we also did something called the Genie Plus. So some people call it like Lightning Pass, Genie Plus. It's all the same thing. But basically, Genie Plus allows you to go to a ride. Like, so it's all online, and you can look it up. I'll put the links for all of these things in the description box. But it basically allows you to kind of like check in. I'm doing that with air quotes as I'm saying this, but you check in online and you kind of reserve a time. Like, say you picked like 6 o'clock in the evening, I'd like to go on this ride. Then once you're in line for that ride, like you check in with your phone, you scan each person's tickets basically onto your phone. So you check in at these little tiny kiosk scan stations, and then it allows you to skip the big huge lines. And so if you're paying as much money as you are to go into Disneyland or to go into California Adventure, I feel like that Genie Plus is really, really worth it. Even though it's even more money you're tacking on, you're not spending all of this like precious and limited time you have there waiting in lines. So I definitely feel like that was worth it. You can check in for another ride. So say you check in and then there's still some lines. It just allows you to skip the humongous line. So say you're waiting in line for like 5 minutes. While you're doing that, you can actually go in and you can check in for your next ride that you'd like to go on to. So you can't just go and like pre-register for a billion rides a day. You have to either check into a ride and say it's like 8 o'clock in the morning, and you're not going to go on this ride that you've checked into until like 4. You can wait 2 hours from when you initially like said, hey, I'm reserving a spot at 4 o'clock. And 2 hours later, you can register for something else. So hopefully that's not too confusing, but there's tons of info about it out there, so you can always look up more, but we definitely recommend those. And then speaking of those passes, so we did something. We were like, we'll just test this out and kind of see how it is. So I'm getting to report back to you guys about this right now. So we spent one day, we drove to Universal Studios, and when we went there, we did not get, it's like similar to a Genie Pass. I don't remember the name for it, but we opted not to get that for that one because we were only going for a day. There were kind of some specific things we were hoping to do there. So we didn't feel like we needed to get the pass that would allow us to skip all the lines. But after the fact, we were like, yeah, we probably should have just paid the extra money and gotten those passes too, because I think I think it was like the Super Mario Land. I don't remember the exact name of the area. It was super cool, but we ended up waiting in line for like 2.5 hours to go on that ride. Like the ride is like, I don't know, 5 minutes or something. And so, you know, in hindsight, we were like, yeah, we should have just paid the extra, and we wouldn't have spent like, you know, big huge chunk of our time there waiting in lines. But anyways, we definitely recommend getting those passes. You're already spending a bunch, might as well just buckle down and spend the extra so you can make the most of your time that you have there. One thing I completely forgot to mention when I was talking about the Genie Plus passes, the ones that help you be able to like skip ahead and skip the big lines. Actually, 2 things. So first off, once you check in, like register online, like I'd like to do this ride. You check in for a time. So 6 o'clock, you have an hour-long window to actually go check in. So you don't have to be there like right at 6 o'clock if that's the time you choose, which is kind of nice. You never know how long like the ride before that's going to take, or the walk to the ride and all that good stuff. So the other thing I forgot to mention is that it also gives you access to photo professionals that are like all over both Disneyland and California Adventure. So next to every like main area. And sometimes just walking around, there are people and they're all like dressed in the same thing and they always have big cameras, but it's all linked to your app that you use, but they'll take professional photos of you and your family. So then you don't have like every single photo that you bring back from your vacation being like selfies or having to awkwardly ask strangers to take pictures of you. So kind of a fun bonus. Next, since right now you're viewing some footage of the really cool souvenir that my son Zeller chose to pick out, is just I wanted to suggest setting a souvenirs budget. So especially if you're taking kids, which if you're a family and you're going to Disneyland, usually that means kids, the souvenirs and like anything that you buy there basically is just so over the top expensive. So it could very quickly get out of hand because most kids, they want anything and everything they see that they think is cool. So this thing that Zeller did was so cool. Like you probably saw the footage already, but you got to go through that. You pick things off the assembly line and you basically build your own robot thing. Droid, I think it is. I'm drawing a blank right now. But anyways, it was a really cool experience, first of all. Just like so much detail. And they just really like went above and beyond. And I don't know, if I was a kid, I would think this was like the coolest thing ever. But definitely suggest having a budget for souvenirs so that that doesn't get like completely out of control. So the next tip is just to pack snacks. So we each had our carry-on suitcases and our backpacks that we packed. And then we had one piece of luggage that we checked at the airport, and it was completely full of snacks. So I think my husband thought I was crazy, but he agreed that it was actually like pretty smart of us, or smart of me. I'm taking credit for that one because I spent a ton of time before our trip. Anytime that like Costco had a really good sale on something like snack style items, I would buy it and I would stash it for our trip. And then I had that suitcase like packed full, but I carried a really great backpack, and I will put a link for that in the description box too. But it's just one I picked up at Target. It was super like comfy to wear, but I hauled all of our snacks. I'd repack it each day before we left our hotel room with snacks for the day, because the cost of eating in the actual parks is just so expensive and so crazy. So I'm not saying we didn't splurge and have things there too, because that's a huge part of the experience, but packing snacks when your kids are like constantly saying they're hungry is a really wise choice. So another thing we did was we packed our own water bottles with us. So like shaker bottles, whatever type of water bottle you like to use, like packed it obviously empty to go to the airport. And then like each of our kids had theirs in their backpack empty. And then when we would leave the hotel room, we would pack those in my bag. And then there were water filling stations all over the park. So kept us hydrated because it was super hot, but caused us not to be like buying water, which is super expensive. And then along the lines of it being hot out, it was so sunny the whole time we were there, and I think that's pretty typical there. So make sure you pack sunscreen, and then make sure you actually put it on. So sometimes we're guilty of packing things like that, and then we completely forget to use it. I wanted just to mention that if you're worried about bringing a stroller like through the airport, or maybe you don't even have a stroller because your kiddo is kind of like old enough where they don't really need one, but they kind of do sometimes. We walked like probably an average of 8 to 10 miles every single day. And so a little kid like my daughter, she actually did great. We only rented a stroller one day, but I was just going to mention you can rent strollers there. So it's $18 for a single stroller or $36 for a double, and that gives you that stroller for the entire day. So it's, that could add up if you're there for a lot of days and you're renting one every single day, but it is an option. So I thought that was just what might be nice to know about for some people. And then the other thing I was going to mention is that you can get, I think it's called City Hall. It's like right when you first come into Disneyland, you can go and you can get like a special pin to wear on your shirt. So my husband, he turned 40 like the day after we got back. from our trip, so we went and got him like a birthday button that he could wear while we were there. So they had birthday ones, first time visitor ones, and I think maybe like honeymoon or anniversary, I'm not sure. There were some different special ones. So that's also something to look into. It's kind of like a fun souvenir to bring back and just adds to your overall experience. The last tip I wanted to mention is just to be cognizant of the fact that things that you'll actually do while you're there, like eating out or stopping to grab something at the grocery store or a quick stop, and then parking, like all these things add up. So I think people get so fixated on the cost of the hotel, the airfare, the tickets for Disneyland itself, and sometimes they forget about all of those little extras that add up a ton. I mean, we didn't actually add it up, but I would estimate we spent at least $1,000 on between food, like in the park, eating out, like while we were away from Disneyland, and then the cost of parking was just blew my mind. So, I mean, everything is just expensive and inflated there. So just be aware of it, something to think about, plan for, and make sure you're prepared when it comes to all those extra costs outside of the big chunk of money costs. All right, so next I thought it would be super fun to just ask each of my family members what their favorite part of our trip was. And then I'll share what my favorite part was too. So I can't pick just one thing, but I'll share my favorites. I thought that might be kind of fun for you guys to hear in their own words what they liked best. And yeah, so that's what you'll hear next here in my sound clips. All right, so Zenley's up first. Zenley, what was your favorite part about our trip?
Meeting the characters and going on the Jessie ride.
Yeah, Jessie from Toy Story.
Yeah.
You like her a lot, huh?
Yeah.
All right, anything else you want to share?
No.
Okay. All right, it's Xanon's turn next. Xanon, what was your favorite thing about our trip?
Fun credit coaster or Space Mountain.
So you like the fast and crazy rides then, huh?
Yeah.
Nice. And I know that you and Dad especially, like, were really into like all the different cool like food options and food places. Did you have a favorite like food place or a favorite kind of food that you got to try while you were there?
Well, I didn't really get to try any new food, but I just liked the churros.
Oh yeah, that's right. The churros, they had some cool ones. There were like the regular churros, and what was on the other ones that you liked that we tried?
The same stuff, just more of it.
Wasn't there like a powdered sugar one or
That's
something?
what Zeller got.
Yeah, it was super duper messy, but it was really good. So churros were the hit for you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, anything else you want to share about our trip?
No.
Okay. All right, Chase is next, and Chase loves doing videos and doing these voice things. So anyways, I won't bug you for too long, Chase, but what was your favorite thing about our trip?
Probably watching when the kids got all excited about different things. That was cool. But actual rides and things, the Guardians of the Galaxy was pretty awesome. The Rise of the Resistance, Star Wars, Super Nintendo World at Universal Studios. That was pretty amazing.
That one looked like you were actually in the game.
Right? Yeah, that was awesome. All the cool food.
Did you
options.
Did you have a favorite food?
Not really. We had those giant pretzels in the Avengers campus. That was pretty cool. They were like the size, probably like a foot tall. Cool.
Chase celebrated his 40th birthday at Disneyland, and so that's where we went for like his birthday lunch / dinner night, and yeah, it was pretty cool. Anything else?
No, it just was awesome. The whole trip.
I agree. All right, thanks, babe. All right, Zeller's up next. Zeller, what was your favorite thing about our trip?
I really liked the Incredicoaster and the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge.
Sweet. The Incredicoaster, that's what your bro said too. So you liked the fast. That Incredicoaster was insane. I would have thrown up, so I didn't even try it. But you guys went, how many times did you guys go?
I don't know,
Do you
like
remember?
7.
You guys go a ton. And then the Galaxy's Edge thing, the Star Wars, was that where you made your droid?
Yep.
That was super cool. Yeah, and then that was like a cool experience and then like a souvenir that you got to keep too, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, anything else that you thought was just awesome? Just all of it?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Thanks, buddy. Okay, my turn now. So I love hearing what all of their favorites were. I think I pretty much already knew because we've talked about it about a billion times since we've, while we were there and since we've been back. But my favorite, very similar to what Chase said, was just getting to watch like the fun of it all through our kids' eyes. Like just to get them to, give them the chance to experience this was super cool. And I think that it's hard to narrow down a favorite. I'll say two, my top two favorites. So I absolutely loved just nighttime at Disneyland and California Adventure. Like all the lights were they blew my mind. They were amazing. There was an amazing like light and water show, which I had footage of in here. And that was over in California Adventure. And then the fireworks show over in Disneyland was amazing. So, and then my next favorite was, it kind of ties together, but the ride, It's a Small World. That ride was just so cool. A lot of people might think it's kind of boring, or I don't know, but just the attention to detail on that ride and just all over the whole Disney experience was amazing to me. So I had such an appreciation for the massive attention to detail, and they didn't miss a beat on anything. And I honestly never saw one single employee that looked like annoyed that their shift wasn't over or annoyed that they were at work. So you can just tell that that's something that's like really, held to a high standard there, which I really appreciate. When you're coming and you're a guest there and you're spending that much money, you wouldn't want to be, helped or seeing like employees that are just like grouchy. So I really appreciated that though. I loved it. It was definitely different from everyday life when you see people out working. So overall, amazing trip. I hope this video was helpful to some of you that are also thinking about taking a trip to Disneyland, or maybe you already have, and you just wanted to see some fun footage from our trip. I hope you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. Leave me a comment. What's your favorite thing in Disneyland if you've been? I'd love to hear. And I'm just going to let the rest of this footage roll and play some music for you, and I can't wait to see you guys next time. I've got tons of great videos coming up here as we move into fall, and I just thank you guys for being here. I will see you guys next time. Bye.